Hey, Alexus, Love Beauties and Flawless Man. Welcome back to another podcast episode. We're going to have a raw and uncut conversation about first impressions. A first impression is the feeling that you get. Come on, Jesus. The wisdom, the discernment, the insight, the first mind that you get about a person upon their approach of just them approaching you, and then especially the communication. So we don't want to unrighteously judge someone by the way they dress. We don't want to unrighteously judge someone because they may look less than us, or they may have struggles, or they may have a disability or any other type of infirmity. Come on, Jesus, that they may be dealing with. But we want to look more at the character of that person. We want to judge more of the character of that person. So upon the first point of contact with someone, we don't want to judge their outer appearance. We want to judge their heart. So we still want to give them the opportunity to come up and approach us, or we come up and approach them. And based off of what they say, based off the conversation, based off of what you pull from that, you are always correct. We are always correct. We get this information from our spirit. God gives us this information, the feelings that we get, the discernment that we have. We get these things from God, and he shows us these red flags. And some of us see these things, or some of us can feel these things. And then even some of us can even just hear from God that nope, or you get these feelings on the inside that something ain't right about that. And it's never something right about that. But a lot of us have not been taught about how to connect with ourselves, first of all. So we ignore those feelings. We ignore those red flags because we have yet, or we're working on doing the self-work and healing our own trauma. It's easier for us to trauma bond with people when we first meet them because we're still in our own trauma, whether we are healing from that trauma or we haven't even thought about it. But it is imperative that we do the work that we need to do in order to heal our feelings, our emotions, and our brokenheartedness. That way we're able to discern these spirits, come on, Jesus, before they even come into the congregation near us. And then sometimes we even be letting people in our house. But we learned about in the whole chapter of Jeremiah, glory be to God, that the Lord said we should not be letting anybody in the congregation. Now, in the sense that the Lord was talking about, he was talking about as far as laying with one another. So that's another thing too. We don't righteously judge. We'll be looking like, dang, he fine. Oh, and he got J's. Okay, period. Okay, and he right in the scat pad. Okay, just my type. 6'5", dark skin. Okay, yeah, it's tatted up. I'm finna get his number. We judge by that. But we miss the feeling that we be feeling like, okay, he fine, I'm finna get his number, but something ain't right. He look like he a player. So we still go further, and we could have been prevented from that. So that feeling that you got saying, it's something about him, he could have been a player. But see, when he walk up, because come on, Jesus, charm is vain and beauty is deceit. So he walks up and he's very charming, like, hey, how you doing, sweetheart? Oh, you look real good today. Can I get your number? What's your name? And we bypass the feeling. The feeling is the spiritual. We cannot scientifically look up the spiritual. And this is what scientists are trying to do. They're trying to find God. They're trying to seek God, but not in a wise way. So what scientists try to do is they try to figure that out. I know I'm always on scientists' head, but I'll be giving that example because we don't have all of the resources that we need, and we never will, to get in contact with the spirit if we're not in contact with the spirit. So there's some things that nobody can tell you. There's some things that a doctor or nobody can help you with but the Lord Jesus Christ. So that feeling that you get like, he a playboy, that is the Spirit of God telling you you're absolutely correct. Now, we still want to be wise. Of course, we still have to get into relationships, and we have to give everybody a chance, but the Lord speaks through our body. So this is where meditation, come on, Jesus, when the Lord says meditate on my word day and night, these things will begin to happen because Alexus, Love Beauties and Flawless Man, I'm seeing them. When you begin to write things down, you might even forget the list. Baby, I done forgot some things on the list, and it came back up, and then I checked the list and said it's already done. So writing things down, I know it sounds cliche. Y'all probably heard this with somebody else, but now I can testify on my own behalf that it really does work. Now, I'm not talking about writing down this perfect man or this perfect woman. Write down the perfect you and let that manifest first. When you come in contact with somebody, they are who they are. You cannot change them now. There are some things that we may not know that we may have to do our extended research on. As far as if they just don't say it, as far as if somebody's depressed, right? There are some spirits, come on, Jesus, that's hiding within people. And it might take a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year relationship for these spirits to come out. So this is where when we're not paying attention or we're not seeking ye first for that insight, right? Insight is the information that you get before anything even happened, before you even go that way. You know that that's a no. We have to get that from God. So I'm not saying we're going to know everything, but 100% of the time we be having a feeling about people. Like, I had a feeling about somebody, and then going through, it's exactly what I thought day one. People be having excuse me, boo. People be having like feelings about me, and I be who I be for real. Like, it's no sugarcoating. You feel me? Like, y'all get what y'all get. And I'm not saying it like that because we know I'm still working. We're still trying. So this is the difference between us and them. We're working on it. We're doing our extended research. So we might slip and cuss sometimes. Y'all already know I told y'all about the addiction. I might, slip and smoke here and there, but I don't be trying to come pull up on y'all like that. But it's a difference between a person that's trying and a person that's not even thinking about it at all. So what we have to do is righteously judge. We have to take these things back to God, even if we're not sure, because when we have yet to fix our trauma and heal the different things that we experienced in our life, we could unrighteously judge somebody. We could miss out on a blessing because we judged them wrong. So a first impression is everything. But so you have to build up a chart. Come on, Jesus. This is what they do. This is what we do in the world. This is what they do in doctors' offices. This is what they do in hospital. This is what the world does. They keep a record. This is what the Lord does. The Lord keeps a record, so we need to be keeping records too. Like, how we going to the doctor and y'all able to tell us that 30% of the population is obese? Because you're keeping the record, you're keeping the file. Now, we're not keeping receipts so we can expose somebody, or we waiting on something to blow up so we can say, well, I got the receipts. We're not doing that. We're using this for wise counsel and say, hey, I just met this guy. He looks really, really handsome, but let me remember about the last handsome man. And I don't want to judge him because everybody is beautiful the way that the Lord created them. But it was something he said earlier in our conversation that kind of threw me off. So let me pray about this. You still sometimes you still have to go through in order to get to know what you need to know. And then sometimes off the first impression. Now, when you talk about self-control and discipline, this is when you get the message, when you get the signs and wonders, and you say, you know what, he is a player, all right? I seen it in his texting. I seen it when we hung out. I seen it in his action. I've been hearing in this conversation. I just been seeing everything, and it's changing. So, hey, this is where I keep my receipts. Now I'm going to be wise and say I'm disciplined enough to not talk to him because I already been through that before. Alexus Love Beauty is a flawless man. Nobody wanted to experience life the way they did. Right. What I'm learning is we're here now. And in order to be reborn again, we're not going to give up the ghost and come back. When we give up the ghost, that's it. But in order to be born again and still live in the same body that you're in and just become a new person, we have to be out with the old and in with the new. That is just a character change. So we're changing our character. And we're applying the information that we already use. Don't let nobody play on your top and tell you to, and this is why people be saying you forgive, but you never forget. But don't let nobody play on your top neither and make you feel like, well, since you'll never got to forget, you got to judge everybody like that, or you got to hold on to that to protect you. It's a way that you use that not forgetting to protect yourself. But you don't want to use that to hold people accountable. Like, oh, remember that time? Yeah, I ain't forget about that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We want to be as humble as we can when we go through these situations. We want to be as humble as we can while we're healing. We are human. We gonna get an attitude, but we can only control ourselves. The purpose of this podcast was to seek ye first. When you meet people with those first impressions, so you can righteously judge and don't belittle your own life experiences. This is your life. This is your testimony. This is your part in the Bible. There's other people that are relating to you also. So don't belittle what you've lived through either. If you see he's charming with his words, but his actions is different, you feel like he's a player and everything. You've seen it before. This is what I'm learning right now. This is what I'm learning, to accept it. But acceptance comes from that part when you're already in the healing process. And first you got to accept your own hurt and your own pain and your own betrayal and the things that you've done. So healing is not cliche. It's really, really a process. But when you accept what you have gone through and you heal and you reverse the curse, the Lord can help you reverse the curse. Like our Uncle John said in Revelation, that is what the Lord is doing. That's what the Lord is going to do. He's going to reverse the curse. The whole Adam and Eve situation will be redone. And the Lord said in Revelation, he will be in the midst of us in the garden this time. So we're trying to reverse that curse. All of those bad characters, all of those bad things that we went through, to become better people. And another thing that I'm realizing, so I'm gonna let y'all go. The spiritual side of this is when nobody can see. It's the way we feel, right? So that's the spirit. And we learned about that in our 7-part series where the Lord was talking about his men and women being whores. That was the first time in my life that I've read and learned how the Lord is really, really attached to us for real, like our emotions. So when we feel, God feels. And it's so we're so emotional, and we be so stuck in the situations, or we feel like we can't let go, or we can't heal, or you even have people that want to give up the ghost because our mental is still there. So and when somebody be like, every time you meet somebody or every time you give yourself to somebody, you lose a piece of yourself. That piece of ourself that some people be leaving, they're not strong enough to keep going forth, so they want to stop. Think about this. Think about it like this. When any type of trauma or anything that you're dealing with, I just want you to, because I feel like I was kind of loud in the first beginning part of this podcast, because y'all know I haven't been here and I love it. I'm geeked. I'm so blessed right now that I'm sitting in this car and we can record a podcast right now. But if you haven't, I'm replay it, but if it's loud, we're going to post it. But if you don't take anything from this podcast, I want you to take this. You are not there anymore. You don't have to go back. You don't have to be associated with. You don't owe nobody anything unless you owe them something. And I tell you to pay your debts. The Lord tells us to pay our debts because he don't want us to owe anybody anything, because some people owe their lives for the things that they owe. So you don't owe anybody anything unless you owe them. And if you do, go ahead and pay what you need to pay. Clear your name. And you're not there anymore. Your mental. We have to work on our mental. Now, again, because I know sometimes we have these raw and cut conversations and be sounding like, dang, she hardcore. I wish somebody was hardcore on me like this. Like, I be learning when we be going for real. I really do be learning when we be dropping a podcast at the same time. Our bodies is not there anymore. You are not in that situation anymore. It's just our mental. It's our mind. It's our feelings. It's our spirit. It's a piece of us that person still has. And that's what we got to get back. We have to get our minds back. So a lot of people, it's hard for them to let go of these things when you met that person in that first impression. Come on, Jesus. This is why you hear people say, it used to be good back when I met you. We're still holding on to that first impression, but it could have been deceitful. So Alexus Love Beauties and Flawless Man, there is a way how to block these deceitful attacks coming into our life. These charming yet deceitful first impressions that we have with people. There's a way how to block that. The only way to block that, I don't care what nobody say. I don't care how many books we read. I don't care about no seminars, no master classes, I don't care about none of this. The only way that we gonna get our information up front that nobody else can tell you to cut years and years if you getting back in that situation again, we have to wholeheartedly acknowledge our iniquities. Which means sit down and acknowledge that you probably wasn't the best in that situation either. Because you looking at this dude and you ain't even healed from the last dude. But now you looking at this dude because you finna use him. You don't even know that's a good man. We have to wholeheartedly acknowledge our iniquities. And then also we have to look at the situation and see, how we were hurt and the different things like that. But I kind of got stopped right there because it's going to go into a second podcast where there's two sides to every story. So Alexus Love Beauties and Flawless Man, in conclusion, I love you. God bless you. You are no longer there. If you are still there, you can get out of there, but it's going to start in your mental first. We have to heal the mind, and the body follows. Our body is not still in these traumatic situations. If it is, We heal the mind and the body follows. So I love you. God bless you. Be wise. Ask the Lord for that insight so you can know beforehand on their first impression. Should I go further or should I cut this off? Talk to you in the next podcast. Mwah.